Did you know? In the German version of Ocarina of Time, if you speak to the young Princess Zelda while wearing the Keaton mask, she'll say, "What are you? Oh, you're one of these small cute pocket monsters, right?" The German translators were having some fun pointing out the visual similarities between the Keaton mask and Pikachu. There are other quirks in the German version too. The carpenters in Kakariko Village are named John, Paul, George, and Ringo, after the Beatles. And the sorceresses Koime and Kotake are called Kila Omaz, which literally translates as killer grannies. In the German version of Link's Awakening, entering the name Mois at the player selection screen will cause some hidden music to play. This is a reference to Claude M. Mois, who is editor-in-chief of the German club Nintendo Magazine and was on the German localization team for Link's Awakening. An early version of the Armos, named Armos Titan, can be found in the code of Twilight Princess. It's much more human-like and attacks by swinging its arms. There's also what appears to be an early model of the Shadow Beasts and a giant monster comprised of curled-up Gorons. As we can briefly see in this early trailer of the game, Moblins were also planned to make an appearance. Something that's also worth mentioning is that there's an unused soldier in the code of A Link to the Past that wields a cannon. There's also an unused clock object in A Link to the Past. It's assumed that it was meant to be mechanically similar to the magical clock in the original Zelda, where all the enemies on the screen were frozen when it's touched. It probably went unused because of the Quake medallion, which achieves a similar effect, making it unnecessary. In Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, if you go to the town of Rudo, you can find a character who states, "I am Error." It's generally thought that this was an actual error and that the game was incorrectly reading his name. However, it seems to be a joke by the developers. There's another character linked to Error named Bagu. Bagu is Japanese for bug, and Bagu's name simply went unaltered. They were supposed to be named Error and Bug as kind of a technical in-joke. Ironically, Bagu's naming was the mistake in the English version, not Error's. Another interesting bit relating to Zelda 2 is that in the March 2003 edition of Swedish gaming magazine Super Play, Miyamoto said Zelda 2 was sort of a failure. He sees A Link to the Past as the real sequel to the first Zelda, and that Zelda 2 is more of a side story about Link after the events of the first game. If you die in the original Famicom and NES versions of Zelda 2, the screen flashes rapidly with various colors. This could potentially cause seizures and was edited in the versions of the game released in 2003 and onwards. The screen now flashes red, reducing chance of seizures. Another change was the palaces in the game were originally referred to as temples in the Japanese version. This explains the presence of idols in the palaces as well as their designs resembling the Parthenon in Greece. There's evidence suggesting that the forest and water temples in Ocarina of Time were originally wind and ice temples. The theory stems from the water medallion symbol resembling a snowflake and the forest medallion symbol resembling a fan. This theory is also supported by the interior design of Ganon's tower, where different sections are based on the game's temples. The forest temple portion of the tower has a wind puzzle based around fans, and the water portion of the tower is based around ice. By using a GameShark code, it's possible to trigger lines of Japanese text in the item subscreen that read Ice Medallion and Wind Medallion. Ganon's tower also led fans to believe the Light Temple was once playable rather than just appearing in cutscene. The thinking behind this theory is that the Spirit Temple contains two different types of puzzle, the puzzles based around time and the puzzles based around light. If Nintendo scrapped the Light Temple, there would be unused light-based puzzles. The thinking behind these light puzzles being in the Spirit Temple is that Nintendo simply reused the puzzles they'd already created for the Light Temple in order to save time developing new ones. There's also evidence suggesting that the Temple of Time was once part of the Light Temple. The song used to warp to the temple is named Prelude of Light. Logically, this should be named Prelude of Time, if its intention was to warp Link to the Temple of Time. It's possible the functions of the temple were originally somewhere in the Light Temple, and the Prelude of Light warped Link to that spot. This is also backed up by the fact that the spot you're warped to in the Temple of Time is marked with the Light Medallion symbol. The Temple of Time's decor is also light-themed, with a giant sun on the door and light bursting through the windows. You also get the light arrows in the Temple of Time. Key items are typically obtained inside dungeons, and it would make sense for the light arrows to be acquired inside the Light Temple. You also get the light arrows after all the sages have been awakened who reside in the Light Temple. What's even more interesting than this is that there's text in the code of the game that reads, the entrance to the past, the entrance to the present, and the entrance to the future. The text is clumped together with information from the desert where the Spirit Temple is, and since the Spirit Temple uses leftovers from the Light Temple, and the Light Temple and the Temple of Time are connected, this text can be linked to the Temple of Time where Link was able to travel between 2 points in time. It's possible to speculate that Ocarina of Time originally had 3 time periods to travel across, the past, the present, and the future. This could also link up with the newly revealed official Zelda timeline, where the events that take place in Ocarina of Time result in 3 separate timelines. In The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, there's a character called the Hero's Shade who aids Link by teaching him swordsmanship. The Hero's Shade can launch large fireballs from the end of his sword and is notably left-handed. This is because the Hero's Shade is actually the spiritual manifestation of the regrets of the Hero of Time, the same Link we knew in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. He was filled with regret from not being able to pass on his skills, so to ease his regrets and finally pass on his knowledge of swordplay, he teaches the 7 hidden skills to one of his descendants, Link from Twilight Princess. This was long speculated by fans and has now been confirmed by Nintendo in the Hyrule Historia. There's a reoccurring event in the Zelda series where characters state variations of the phrase, "It's a secret to everybody." The phrase is in most Zelda games and is a reference to the original Legend of Zelda on NES where a moblin says, "It's a secret to everybody," and then gives Link some rupees. In the pre-release prototype version of The Legend of Zelda, the text from the moblin actually reads, "Overlook it just this once." Originally, he was bribing you. There's a giant female statue near the middle of the Spirit Temple. If you aim the long shot where the statue's nipples would be, you can actually grab onto them. You can't grapple any other parts of the statue besides the gate hidden inside its face. It's thought that this was a joke by Nintendo. This also wasn't changed in the 3DS remake. That's all for today, but don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Make sure you also check out didyouknowgaming.com where we post gaming trivia every single day. If you liked this video, then check out our other videos. And if you like stupid videos, then feel free to check out some of mine. You can check out one of my Zelda videos here, or you can check out my gameplay channel where I also do a lot of Zelda stuff. The choice is yours.